Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm not having to do intros and outros anymore, and I'm real happy about that. I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm going third again, so I actually know when to do my intro, so that's great too. I'm Maddie Grace Weapon.
And I'm the guest, named Trish.
And
Trish
I'm
the
back,
guest.
everybody.
You're back! We've missed you!
Yeah. I have missed all of you, especially all the listeners at home. If you didn't hear 2 weeks ago, why are you listening to this episode? Very weird one to start on. But Summer, my wife, had a seizure. She had a blood clot in her brain, which caused some hemorrhaging, also known as a stroke. And she's in the ICU for 8 days, and it was super duper scary. She, however, is a badass, and they said it would take her approximately 10 weeks to be talking back at normal. But about 2 days after she came home, she was back to talking normal, and she basically has no lingering side effects, just an assload of pills to take every day. So that's super awesome. The thing that's not super awesome is hospital bills are expensive, and they're the leading cause of debt in America, and that sucks. So if you want the podcast to continue, because I won't have to take an extra job at the factory to pay off these bills, you can donate on. We have a GoFundMe if you're so inclined. It'll be linked in the notes, and if you don't want to do it on me, currently the Ko-Fi all comes to me because I spend the most money on the podcast. So if you want to just donate to the Ko-Fi, that will also help me out. Whichever way you want to do it, I will greatly appreciate it. And then by the time you're hearing this, it should be early enough for you to come and join Bernard and probably also me on Monday. We're going to be doing a big old charity stream to raise money for the GoFundMe. Bernard, did you decide what you're playing yet?
I am pretty set on playing Dandy Dungeon, Legend of Brave Yamada.
Game fucking rules.
It does.
So come and hang out and help me out and help Summer out, and everything will be awesome. But the most important update, since I've been gone, is my Steam Deck came in today, and that's awesome, and I love it. I'm super excited to actually play games on it, because today all I did was set it up and make sure that things were working. But I only set up like 10 games, and not every single game that I could possibly set up, because that's the trap. Like my Battlesera emulator box is just sitting there because I set up every game, and so now there's no games to play because there's every game to play. So I only set up a handful, one of which is Prime Hack. Maddie, have you ever heard of Prime Hack?
Never heard of it.
So Prime Hack is a special fork of the Dolphin emulator that takes all the Metroid games, most notably Metroid Prime Trilogy for the Wii, and maps them to modern controls. So you can play them with not the Wii remote, and it rules. You can play it normal style, and I played through the opening of even 3. They mapped all of the motion controls to buttons, and it's amazing.
Let's go.
And I played through the opening of Prime 1 today, and it just works, and it's awesome. The only thing that sucks is all of the button prompts are for the Wii remote, and the B button is actually the A button on the Steam Deck, and the A button is the trigger, and that will never help because the shape of the B button on the Wii is a trigger, and the A button is the big button in the middle of the face. So you have to switch that in your brain, but it makes, when you're actually playing the game, everything makes a lot of sense. Like jump is where it should be, and shoot is where it should be, right, and missiles and morph ball are where they should be. And it's fantastic, and I highly recommend it if you have the means to rip your own copy of Metroid Prime trilogy for the Wii, obviously.
There are a few things in life I enjoy more than not using the Wii remote.
Surely one of life's pleasures.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Except
fantastic.
for some strange reason, the video game Xenoblade Chronicles, which doesn't use any motion controls at all. But when the game first came out, way back in 1911 D6, I got the game imported, from when it was only available in Europe. Had to hack my Wii to play it, all that stuff. Bernard remembers. You were there.
Yes.
And I finally got it working, and it wasn't in black and white. And I set out to play at my apartment in college, and it was with Wii Remote. And after a little bit, I was like, this game's got weird fucking controls, man. It's quite odd. It's very clearly just strange. It's on the Wii Remote. It doesn't even use motion controls. So I switched to the Wii Classic controller, and I found out two things. Well, first of all, Wii Classic controller does suck. It's bad. But also, for some reason, the control scheme just didn't make as much sense. And I'm like, really? This game was designed from the bottom up, apparently from its inception, designed from the bottom up, to be played with a weird little rectangle with one big button on top and one little trigger button on bottom, and then a weird little D-pad way down near your palm on one hand, and a weird little nub with two little dudes on the... that's how this game's designed, apparently, and it only makes sense when you're playing it that way. I'm probably the only person in the world that has his opinion, but I'm not. I'm serious. It's very strange.
I remember it playing surprisingly well, though. I prefer playing the definitive edition with the Switch Pro controller.
Yeah, that definitive edition is real nice.
But anyway, fuck the Wiimote.
Yeah. So, highly recommended to try out Prime Hack if you haven't done it before. But I think that's all the important stuff that's happened to me while I've been gone. It's just been a lot of that. So what about you guys? What's been up with you?
Since last time, man, I don't even know. Life feels like a whole lot's happening all the time. Although I don't think actually anything is happening. It's actually a whole lot of nothing. No. I mean, it's just that I think that the things that I'm engaged with in my life are very interesting and complex, but it's complex and interesting evolutions of the same thing. It'd be like if someone's really into a shmup, right? Like if someone's insanely into shmups, and it's like, what did you do this week? And in their brain, they're like, oh, it's amazing. I learned so many new strats and developed so much new technique in my playing of Gradius 5. But externally, they just say, I played Gradius 5 for 2 straight weeks. You know what I mean? That's my life. Just more of the same shit. Although right now I'm very stressed about 5 different things that are on the emotional level, the material level, the political level, the stuff that I'm up to with my life level. Every single cylinder is having anxiety right now. So that's fun. Final thing. This is more appropriate for the other podcast, but we don't do the how you doing part in that podcast. I am in love with Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns. It's incredible. I know I said the name of the game backwards. It's fantastic. I've sunk 60 hours into it.
Wow.
60.
Wow. You do not need to spend that long.
You could probably beat the game in a clean 25. If the game did not have the structure that it has, where it's the time passes and once you get to the PNR you can't go back, that's pressuring me because I need to do that because I need to beat the game for, the podcast. If it wasn't for that, I would just keep playing it forever. I don't normally do that with games. I don't normally play the bejesus out of them, feel like maxing them out or anything, but this game, something about its systems, first of all, it feels great to play. It's got endless depths. There was this one item I was farming. Look at me, farming. Imagine.
Wild.
So this item I was trying to farm, and I found out that this one enemy drops the item with 100% farm drop rate if you stagger it before killing it. But it's hard to stagger it before killing it. It doesn't have a lot of HP, so I modified my gear to intentionally do less damage Like I crippled my own stats. That way I could keep it at a high health while staggering it. Anyway, I also finally have managed to get a read on the game's narrative themes. It was harder than the previous two games, but that's not even the big deal. The big deal is it just feels great to play. Highly recommend it to everyone, even if you're not like a weirdo sicko like me and the rest of the people on this goddamn podcast. And by that I mean Bernard and Sam Suzuki. Even if you're normal, man, it's fun as hell to play. Very, very weird. Like I said, 60 hours. Who would have thought?
Wow. Yeah, I also really liked the game, but I did not like it 60 hours a lot, but I'm glad that you did.
I think
I
it's
wasn't
pretty good.
expecting it.
I think it's pretty good. Since last we spoke, I've just studied and worked and
And there's a
I
job
got
that you're really
sushi
hoping
the
to
other
get.
day.
Oh, let's go.
What did you say?
There's a job that you're really hoping to get.
What about it?
That's something that you did. Is you applied to a job that you really hope you get.
Oh, I applied to 1 million jobs
No,
that I really hope I get at least one of them.
true.
But yes,
I hope you get all of them.
that'll be really
I hope you get
hard.
exactly one of them. That way, you don't have to make a decision.
Yes.
That you get one job. Every single job rejects you except for one, and the one that doesn't reject you is either your perfect dream job or it's at least pretty damn good, and you feel no anxiety or confusion about accepting it, and you're happy about it, and it's easy peasy. That's what I hope happens.
Yes. Yeah, my life has not been very eventful. Oh my gosh, I just realized Live Alive comes out tomorrow.
Let's go.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah, I am excited for it.
Yeah, that game's great. Ever play the demo? I should play the demo.
I would be more excited if I didn't have a big stack of games that are already the ones I'm playing next. And
Yeah, since Summer Seizure unfortunately was timed with the release of Live Alive, we're not going to be able to do the podcast thing we were going to do with it. So now Live Alive is probably going to be, I'm going to pick it up like in a year and a half, because in 8 days Xenoblade Chronicles and Digimon comes out, and then Star Ocean comes out in October, and there's a Pokemon game coming out. I have a lot of RPG hours to get through. So
I'm actually excited for Digimon. I'm not going to be playing it, but my girlfriend is one of the biggest Digimon nuts in the world. So I wanted to surprise him, but I didn't get to surprise him because I thought maybe the game actually, maybe he doesn't want to play the game. Maybe there's something about it that I don't know as a non-Digimon fan, right?
Mhm.
So I had to ask. You know, that's the thing about relationships. Sometimes you have to ruin a surprise because you want to make sure that it's actually a good thing to do first. So I went ahead and ruined the surprise. But turns out, yes, we are getting Digimon, whatever it's called, Survive. Thank you, babe. And I'm looking forward to watching it being played in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Watching / reading a visual novel with your partner is one of the coolest things you can do, and I highly recommend it.
I
It's
completely agree.
A lot of fun. What about you, Trish? What have you been up to? I don't have personal DMs with you, so I have not even heard anything from you in like a month. How are you?
Honestly, not much has happened since the last time recorded. Been playing more Fire Emblem Three Houses. I finished my first playthrough. I'm doing my second playthrough now. Enjoying it a lot. I'm realizing not only is this my favorite Fire Emblem, I'm going to be addicted to playing this for a while. More than I probably should. I'm on a mental health upswing, which is nice.
That's good. Love
But
to see it.
yeah, and then actually tonight, in I think something like 5 or 6-ish hours, one of my girlfriends is flying in and going to be here for 10 days, and that's going to be great.
That's awesome.
That rules.
But yeah, not much to really talk about.
That's good. I'm glad we're all boring this week. Well,
Yeah.
Sam isn't, but hopefully we will be in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's only juicy because I had to tell the juicy part. Like if I had been giving updates all week, this last week would have been boring, which is
That's a good point.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You would love to have a near-death experience, and then 3 weeks later is a boring week. That's
I've been
that's amazing.
I've been watching a bazillion videos by the wonderful YouTube person John Boyce, who mostly makes videos about sports, mostly baseball and football, and he uses a lot of like stats and graphs and charts. Not too different than like Tim Rogers actually when analyzing things, like unusual uses of stats and charts, right? And I just had the thought, if someone took all of our podcasts and charted out how long the how was your week section is over time, you'd be able to basically see like map out how we're doing. Like,
Yeah.
the longer that section is, the worse we're doing. Or they announced a new like Sonic game.
Yeah.
and you could look at it and be like, oh, good for them, or ooh, that was a rough couple months, huh?
Yeah, or my favorite one is a really good Pokemon game and a really bad Star Wars movie came out right around the same time. So we actually restarted the podcast because we talked for an hour about Pokemon and Star Wars.
And then had to make a separate bonus episode. Yeah, that was funny.
We did.
But yeah, it's like, anytime that number goes up, that is a cry for help.
Yes. But yeah, I think let's get to it. So let's listen to some music from this game and then talk about the plot from this game.
So the gang heads to the Aerospace Museum to follow after Tatsuya Sudo, aka Joker. Like in The Other Side, it's full of kids on a field trip. Also, Jun is there. He approaches Maya and asks if they've met. After remembering their brief meeting at the train station, he asks if she gave him this strange letter. It says to come to the Aerospace Museum to meet a friend, but he doesn't know who that could be or who the letter was from. But then the building bursts into flames and the exit is blocked. Tatsuya's voice echoes throughout the room and tells Maya it's just like The Other Side. And just like The Other Side, we have to find all the children and take them to the roof.
That's right.
Tatsuya tells Jun to find the teacher while the gang looks for the kids.
At least this time around, was it like the first 1 or 2 floors there's no demons?
I believe it was that way in the first game, too.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because when the demons are turned on, bad Tatsuya is like, see, it's just like The Other Side. Now you have to fight demons too.
Okay, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
In the middle of looking for children, the gang passes through the room where the Alpha Timeline gang saved Akari. Maya gets distracted and hears a girl's voice. The Beta Timeline gang tells her to snap out of it and get moving. When the gang arrives on the roof, Tatsuya and Totino's are in a standoff. Tatsuya holds Jun hostage and says, "Come on, remember, I'm not the Joker. You're the worthy one. Guide us like you did on The Other Side. I won't screw up like the other me." Jun is like, "What?" Tatsuya's like, "What's Totino's doing here?" Maya's like, "What's Deja Vu Boy doing here?" Tatsuya's like, "Wait, what?" Tatsuya says some shit about The Other Side and tells Maya to remember. Totino's orders her to not remember anything. A pit opens on the roof, just like in The Other Side. Everyone jumps away, but Totino's is left dangling from the ledge. Maya tries to pull him up. Tatsuya says even if she remembers now, it's too late. Die, B-word. But before he can kill her, June knocks him into the pit.
It is the funniest looking animation.
It's very silly. No, there's a funnier looking animation.
There's a funnier
this
one.
week, I
There
think.
is a funnier one, but that one's really good.
It has me coming after the after the line that he says. Like it almost feels like a parody of what is already a laughably self-serious scene, which is the the scene in 300 where he says this is Sparta and then kicks the guy in the hole. It's like super extreme, like die bitch, push it. Except it's like it's not cool at all. It's extremely goofy.
There is humor to be had when something is taking itself very seriously and trying to be very grown up by using swear words.
Yeah, and despite
And
our
it's
conversation
just
last
goofy.
week, exactly, and in spite of our conversation last week, this game doesn't actually have that much cursing in it. It has more than none, which is surprising, but still not that much, so it still feels funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Maya gets Totino's up out of the pit, and he tells everyone to follow him into the blimp. He takes the controls and flies the blimp away from the museum. Katsuya is like, how do you know how to fly a blimp? Totino says he's seen it done before.
I love
He
it.
tells June to take the controls, and June's like, okay, but how did you know my name? The blimp shakes violently. The gang and Totino's exit the control room to find Tatsuya there with a horribly burned face. He says some shit about destiny and attacks. The fight is really hard, but luckily Totino's joins in and is real strong. If you're like me, your whole party dies pretty quick, and Totino's just 1v1's Tatsuya.
They didn't die. No, I'll do one better. I was in a JRPG spiral for the whole game. So actually, Trish, you were here. You might not know. Do you know the term the JRPG spiral?
I do not. I was going to ask.
It's a term that we coined. Probably Sam coined it. Where you're playing a game. It doesn't happen in any JRPG ever. Only like I would say more better designed ones. But basically you're like low on health and you're basically spending all your turns staying afloat and not actually like dealing damage. So like
oh yeah,
one person's dead and then you revive them, but then that person dies and you revive them and then that person dies. And it is possible. What's fun but also shitty about the JRPG spiral is it 9 times out of 10 results in you eventually lose. It's just a slow attempt to grasp onto failure. But sometimes you manage to dig out of it, and you feel really good. So anyway, yeah, I was in the JRPG trial this whole time, but it didn't matter because Totino's was kicking their ass.
Thank God for
yeah.
Totino's. I say this every day before I eat dinner.
Me too.
I actually ate Totino's pizza rolls last night.
So after getting owned, Tatsuya says, "Don't think you've won. The fear has been spread. The Joker won't die." The Joker dies. So the curse is definitely resolved.
Yep, let's go.
June runs in and says they're losing altitude. Totino's wastes no time in ripping open the doors, and he kicks Katsuya out, and that is the funniest animation.
Okay, I took a note of that too. That is the funniest one. That's just him. He kicked every single character out.
Yes, Katsuya just walks up and is
so
like, "Hey,
good.
what?" And Totino just kicks him out. It's great. So
It's very good slapstick comedy, which is hard to do in sprite work sometimes, but they do it so well.
Yes.
It's especially funny because Katsuya is his older brother, so he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wait, like I'm involved in this plot. Like this is very important. We really need." And Tatsuya's like, "Nope, bye."
mm-hmm.
Call me when dinner's ready. Kick.
So before jumping, June offers Totino's a special lighter as thanks for saving them. He says he feels he has to give it to him. Totino says he has nothing he can give in return and pushes June out of the blimp.
I can give you nothing except this. Push.
Last is Maya. Totino tells her, "There's still a chance. Don't listen. Don't look. Then you can return to your normal life." Before she can protest, he pushes her out. The gang and the kids wash up on the shore. Totino's is nowhere to be found, but Balfu tells Katsuya not to worry about it. Katsuya asks Jun how he knows Totino's and what the other side is. Jun says he just feels like he knew Totino's long ago, like he was someone important. Ulala says, I'm so relieved. I can finally get on with my miserable life.
Which is a mood.
Yes. Balfu says it's not over. They still don't know what Tatsuzo plans to do. Katsuya agrees and calls the station to report what happened. Balfu antagonizes Katsuya for being a cop, and Katsuya gets pissed and leaves. Ulala says she's done with this shit and leaves as well. Balfu calls them cowards and says the truth is all that matters. He asks Maya if she's quitting too, and another great moment of silent protagonist characterization, she shakes her head. We do not get a dialogue option. Balfu is pleased and says he's going to head back to his place to find out more about Tatsuzo. Balfu tells Maya to see if her colleagues at Kismet Publishing know anything, and he leaves as well. Maya is now left to her own devices to wander around the city and talk to as many NPCs as she wants. But eventually she returns to Kismet to find the chief talking with a mysterious woman who is introduced as Chizuru Ishigami. It turns out she's a fortune teller. She says Maya feels she's not herself and is worrying about a younger man. She asks Maya if she enjoys life, if she's glad she came into this world. Chizuru continues to be normal and says, "The world is made to punish humans for their sinful pasts. They are put through an endless cycle of reincarnation. Where were you before in your past life? Another country? Or maybe another world? Humans are connected, not only to the past, but to themselves in another world. You will change along with the world." The chief is like, lucky you getting your fortune read by the great Chizuru. Chizuru leaves, and the chief tells Maya to get back to work. Maya leaves the chief's office to find her colleagues gathered around a TV. They're watching an interview with Chizuru, who says she's going to reveal who the Joker is. Maya starts watching too. Chizuru says a bunch of nonsense, but it culminates in a very interesting conclusion. If you do the Joker curse, you get possessed by Joker's negative energy and become a Joker yourself.
Oh my god, I'm going to become the Joker. Been hold on to that one all week.
I think this is such a fascinating way to take the plot. Like, this is such a genius. Like, okay, I think we can all agree. This is a villain move. She's in on this bullshit, and she's making everything worse on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah.
So we briefly see Balfu in his lair. The game literally calls it Balfu's lair, listening in on Tatsuzo's phone conversations. We just hear him say that their plans haven't changed. The scene then cuts to the Konan Police Department chief's office. There are 3 people here: Police Chief Togashi, Captain Shimazu, and the man with a scar whom Balfu recognized at the sanitarium. Shimazu says into the phone, "I understand. Then I shall proceed according to plan." Katsuya enters. Shimazu tells him he read the report and recommends he check into a hospital for psychiatric evaluation. Shimazu, why can't I say this guy's name? Shimazu says the situation is under review and the fire at the sanitarium was a gas explosion. No survivors. Katsuya's like, wait, what fire at the sanitarium? Shimazu is like, I don't have to listen to your babbling. An officer enters and says, "Sir, a message from HQ. There have been several homicides. Details are identical to the Joker incidents." Shimazu orders the crime scenes to be investigated. Katsuya says they should go after Tatsuzo instead. Oh my god, why can't I say names? Chief Togashi says, "Sergeant Suo, you are hereby relieved of active duty. Keep interfering and I'll have your badge. Katsuya leaves without a word. The man with the scar says Katsuya's a good cop, unlike you people. Shimazu says the man... I can't read. Shimazu hands the man a sheet of paper and says, "Here are the phone records of all the people who called the Joker. Check every one of them. I can't stand letting Shinjo act so big." The man notices the name Serizawa on the list. Shimazu says don't bother, she can be used for something else. The man leaves, and Shimazu, being normal, says, "The more pawns, the better. We have them right where we want them. Both of them."
Oh, sorry. I forgot there was more to the line, or I didn't realize it was. This, I don't briefly mention, another little 1-2 punch of this game that I found very humorous was, first of all, you're in Balfu's lair, and it's like, obviously it could just be like non-diegetic, right? Or the game's just informing us, but it's just like, I don't know. Most of these games' descriptions are very like, just descriptive, right? It's just like, police department, chief's office, or the gym, or the museum, right? So when it's Balfu's lair, I'm just like, is that what he calls it? Because, like, if you're calling something your lair, like, you know you're the villain, right? Like, that's not good. The thing's going to trap Shimazu, I just mark this in the column of, like, if you do this, you're a villain. Calling someone pawns. If you refer to people as pawns, you should look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I want
to start a running list at this point of, like, things that if you do them, you're the villain.
I will say, as someone who's frequently called my bedroom a lair, like, it doesn't necessarily denote evilness. It just denotes it's a foreboding place, solitary.
Lair is less so. Let's put it this way: and I do not mean this insultingly. I believe, have you referred to yourself in the past as having gremlin like vibes?
Okay, maybe, I guess a little. Okay. Yeah.
So that's okay. I thought so. That's fine. It's totally fine too. But I wouldn't want to say that if it wasn't accurate, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you're like a gremlin person and you have a lair, that's fine. But if you're like a person wearing a business suit, talking about your plans and you're in a lair, it's different.
That's fair.
Have you seen Balfu?
But I was gonna say, Balfu is a gremlin.
This guy, he has a lair.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not.
Have you seen his style? I don't know what his style is.
Yeah, but I do agree though that lair is not as strong of a "you're definitely the villain" word as
pawns thing is bad.
Pawns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you say that something is, everything's going according to plan, stuff like that.
Anyway, we now see Ulala at Gold Gym. She overhears some people talking about Chizuru's interview and how anyone who calls Joker becomes a Joker. Back with Maya, the announcer on the TV says they just received news of a gas explosion at Morimoto Sanitarium with no survivors. Maya is unnerved. She heads downstairs and runs into Balfu. She tells him what happened, and he says Tatsuzo torched the place to get rid of the evidence. He says, "I tapped his home telephone, and they were talking about plans to finish someone off. I couldn't tell who the mark was, though." Maya says they should meet up with Katsuya, and Balfu reluctantly agrees. He says if Chizuru's fortune-telling comes true, the whole city is in danger. They head to the police station and find Katsuya. He tells them about the new murders, confirming that Chizuru caused a rumor which came true. Then Maya gets a call from Ulala, who just says, "Maya, hurry, run, before I change. Hurry." It sounds like Ulala did the Joker curse at some point. Katsuya asks who Ulala would want to kill, but Maya says Ulala doesn't have any enemies. But then she has a vision of the time she and the Alpha Timeline gang met a man who swindled Ulala out of her savings. Maya tells Beta Timeline gang about her vision, and they decide to search for this con artist. This must have been a bit of a weird scene if you haven't played Innocent Sin, because it's year 2000.
Yeah.
Like, who are these characters?
Yeah, I'm not saying I legitimately think we should have done this, because I like what we did. It makes sense. But it would have been an interesting experience if we had just said fuck it and only played this game. I wish I could. I kind of wish I could be able to do that now, but I can't. Play this game without playing the previous one. Like it's more and more and more intriguing to imagine the experience.
What would be great is to be able to do it both ways, but that's impossible.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Damn timeline.
Yep.
Linear time. We hate it, folks.
Mhm.
After asking around, the gang finds their mark in a bar in the middle of conning a young woman out of 3 million yen. The gang walks up and Katsuya says they're taking him in under suspicion of fraud. The UI introduces this guy as Yoichi Makimura, the con artist who swindled Ulala of her savings. Not out of her savings, of her savings.
This guy rules.
Makimura is the alias he used at the time. Makimura's like, nah, man, I'm not a con artist. Katsuya's like, oh, dang, well, the guy we're looking for is going to be killed by the Joker, so we better go find the right person.
I do not like Katsuya for obvious reasons, but this scene was fucking hilarious.
yeah.
Makimura's like, no, I'm totally a con artist after all. Please protect me. Having apprehended Makimura, Katsuya asks Maya where Ulala would be. Maya says they should check Gold Gym, and they head there. And they bring Makimura along with them? I guess?
I guess.
Yeah.
At this point, you can, of course, drag Makimura all over the city for tons of new dialogue with him and the rest of everyone else. But let's pretend there's an actual sense of urgency. The gang heads to Gold Gym. They find out a woman forced everyone out of the boxing gym and locked herself inside. So the gang goes through a dungeon to find the spare key to the boxing gym. They enter the boxing gym after all this nonsense, and they find Ulala hunched over. Katsuya and Balfu tell her Makimura has been arrested and he'll pay for his crimes. Ulala asks if Maya is there. Maya calls out to her, but Ulala stands to face them. Her skin is pale and her eyes are not there. She says, "You finally get it. You're the one I want to kill, Maya." Joker Ulala attacks. After a boss fight, which I did not do because I had a bunch of emulator troubles, I didn't actually get to finish playing this week. So I don't know if it was hard or not. But after a boss fight...
It didn't seem hard because on the game movie, they beat it in 2 rounds.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was hard for you guys.
In the game movie, they're really good at the game. They're like used in other personas and shit.
I did not beat it in 2 rounds, but it is one of those types of fight where I managed to beat it on my first try, but it's one of those they hit you pretty damn hard and you hit them pretty damn hard type fights. So it's one of those fights where I think either it takes you, again, not 2 rounds or anything. I don't know how many rounds it be, 10, 15. I wasn't counting, right? But it's one of those battles where it's either going to go pretty quick or you're not going to be able to beat it. And it seems like, this battle's impossible. Well, no, if you were slightly stronger, you'd beat it easily, so that it's one of those battles, which is, one of my favorite kinds.
Mm-hmm. So after the boss fight, Ulala seems to be back to her old self. She tells Maya she cursed her when she was drunk because she was jealous. Ulala always fails at her pursuits, but it seemed like Maya had everything. Makimura tells them to finish Ulala off before she hurts someone. Sick of his shit, Katsuya and Balfu rough him up, but Ulala tells them to let him go. He says he'll return the money and never con anyone again. He runs off. Katsuya says they should take Ulala to a hospital. Balfu says a Joker is the same as a persona, and no doctor can yank that demon out of her. So instead, they take her to the Velvet Room. And it weirds me out that in a pre-3 game, a story scene is happening in the Velvet Room. After playing Persona 1, where it's never even mentioned. And then Persona 2 Innocent Sin, where there was some mention of it, but not really.
Yeah, there
This
was
weirded me out.
there was a thing in the game where the characters talk about it briefly. It's like, oh yeah, player, there's a place you can go that does Persona-y things.
Yeah, it makes me wonder where this is headed. Like, I don't really have much of an idea of where this game's headed right now, but it makes me wonder, like, is Velvet Room type stuff going to end up being like a really, really, really huge deal, like the main, like the main crux of the plot by the end of the game? And if so, was that being planned from the previous game, or was it just like in the previous game it was just this largely gaming flat abstraction that doesn't factor into the plot really at all, and then this one they decided I don't know. I wonder if the writers knew that this was gonna feel weirdly jarring, or if it was like, nah, that was the point.
Mm-hmm. So they take Ulala to the Velvet Room. Igor whips out a cell phone and makes a call. The Joker seems to be sucked out of Ulala. Igor says, "A Joker is the heart's shadow. The heart exists only when there is light and dark. You can't just make it disappear." And I've decided for this next text box he's turned into Persona 5 Igor. "It retreats to the sea of unconsciousness for now, but it will rise whenever it can. That is up to Miss Serizawa." Ulala says, "I'm really sorry, Maya. I know I can't change what I've done, but I promise I'll be there when you need me. My grandmother always said to repay your debts." But then Maya gets a weird phone call. The voice on the line says, "Hello, Miss Amino? It's me, Ana Yoshizaka. I got your number from Mayazumi at Kismet. Noriko suddenly became a Joker, and someone kidnapped her? She must have used the Joker curse on someone. Everyone who's been kidnapped is being held at a club called the Zodiac. I'm going there right now. This is for saving me at the clock tower. Bye." It seems Noriko was behind the murders of the principal and the hit-and-run driver. But why would someone be kidnapping people who called Joker? The gang decides to head to the club to find out. Next week.
That's right.
Oh yeah. So yeah, let's listen to some more music from this game, and then we'll talk about our memorable moments. Dope. So, catching up on a couple memorable moments about this game in general, it's wild to me that Maya is a silent protagonist after being not a silent party member last game. That's cool. I like that a lot. It's very weird.
It is.
I also...
It is, and it's... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was about to change. So if you're saying more things about that, you go first.
Oh, I was going to say, we kind of talked about, it's very fun that even though she's now a silent protagonist, she still has very clear personality that she had in the first game.
Mm-hmm. But I also I had jotted it down and it became not true anymore, that I was like, oh wow, the Joker looks way cooler in this game than he did in the other. But then it wasn't Joker, it was Bad Tatsuya. But that baghead look in the first dungeon was really fucking cool. But then
yeah, we talked about how it was actually scary.
Yeah, it was really freaking dope. So is this King Leo? Is
Yes.
Bad Tatsuya King Leo? Okay, I thought that's what the name was back in the day, but I couldn't remember if we ever saw King Leo with his mask off and not 10 years ago. But and then my one from this week was like, I hate that Katsuya is a cop, but it's cute role playing. Like if I was the DM of this game, I would give inspiration for committing to the bit. But when you go to get the key in the gym, you get it from a panty thief, and Katsuya's like, "Oh, what? Like there was a girl in here that had the key," and you're like, "No, it was a person on a panty raid." And he goes, "That's illegal," and he goes and beats up and arrests the panty thief, and the panty thief says, "Ugh, ow, that smarts," which is just it made me giggle.
That part was really good. I was gonna mention that one. My only real thing that hasn't already been mentioned is really, where did my brain go? Whatever, someone else go. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. Going down my list of stuff. When you're helping the kids, when everyone gets a turn once again to say something to the kids, and as Maya, you get to choose what you say. And one of your options, I can't remember the exact line, but it's something like, "Hey kids, grab your asses and run," which is
yeah,
which is like, oh, it's the thing you say in fights all the time, Maya. Let's see. I really enjoy the whole bit after the blimp section where the whole party is kind of split up and we get to like just see little scenes with each of them individually. I think that was both a great way of characterizing them a little bit more, but also just like we never really got a moment like that in the first game, and I feel like the fact we do here, I almost feel like it feels kind of intentional in the fact like these are adults with their own lives going on more than you really do when you're a teenager. Yeah, but I guess my last thing being, because I always have to bring up this thing, hey, you can go to the armor shop, and the trans guy from the first game is still there.
I was gonna ask if you had found a sign
he's an egg
in
now.
the movie.
in this timeline, he's still an egg. Because you talk to him, and he's just like, ugh, that guy hitting on me made me so uncomfortable. I wish I was a guy. And it's like, that is the eggiest thing you can possibly say, good sir. For those of you who do not know the terminology, an egg is a trans person who has not yet come out / realized that they are trans.
Yeah, and
when you're trans, you tend to... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'll try to say the same thing as you. I wanted to add the caveat that trans... Okay, public service announcement. Do not do this non-ironically. And trans is too. I'm talking to you. Trans people like to joke that people are secretly trans. That like their friends or people in movies. Like, oh, that person gives off egg vibes. Like I have a hunch that this person is actually transgender because this person reminds me of me, or they have common features. If that goes beyond being a joke, it's honestly not chill. Because it's weird. Like imagine you're just some random, possibly cis person, and someone comes up and you're like, "Yeah, everyone's saying that you're transgender," and you're like, "What?" But in this case, of course, we're not joking. They are an egg in a very literal sense.
Yeah, this is more so yeah, I completely agree.
Yes.
Do not actually try to tell someone what their gender identity is. That is not okay, no matter what direction you're trying to do that.
Yeah, and for those of y'all who aren't trans and wouldn't do that anyway, I want y'all to be aware that if you ever hear trans people say that, that's what's happening. Like that doesn't necessarily mean the person is an egg. It means that we're riffing about their vibe, probably.
Yeah, no. So there's the joking thing, which is what you're talking about, which is absolutely a thing. And there's also just using it is okay to use egg in the terminology of when you know a character or real life person is trans and you're talking about a time before they came out. In which case, yes, that is literally that is their egg stage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before we started talking about this, I remembered another one, but
go ahead.
Then this went on for a while, and I forgot it. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try and remember again.
So if you go to Maya and Ulala's apartment at some point, I forget what point it is. Katsuya's like, "Oh my gosh, there was a burglar! Quick, search, see if you can." Identify anything that's missing, and it's like, no, they just live like that.
Specifically, well, because you're in Maya's room. Maya lives like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn bitch, you live like this.
Also, Maya has a PS1.
Good for her.
Nice.
She can play Persona 2.
I remember what I had remembered. You can go and meet Eikichi this week. I don't know if you could last week or not. Everything was this week for me. Everything was 4 hours ago for me. But you can go and meet Eikichi. And in the beta timeline, he actually told Koji how he felt and their boyfriend, girlfriend. And it makes me really happy. She's not fat, which is problematic, but
Yeah.
they're still in love, which is at least nice.
Yeah. You can also go to Eikichi's high school, which has demons in it for some fucking reason. And you can go.
Why not?
You can go to the top. If you go to the roof, the student council president from the old timeline is there, and he's grumbling about how this school is not run well. If only he was in charge. And his friend's like, "Dude, you didn't even run." He's like, "Shut up! I'm a genius." And then if you go, you can also then go the opposite way. You can go all the way down to the basement outside the tunnel. You can also go into that weird basement tunnel cave system.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that is that dude who beat Aikichi to take the leader title or whatever the fuck happened in the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of grumbling about Aikichi beating him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
I know.
love how much stuff there is to do in this game in between the stuff you got to do.
I know that our running joke is that every game that we play is Homestuck, but I'm really loving how much this game is Homestuck, and you just get to see things being riffed on from the first game, which is hilarious because this is this was the first game we got over here, and I can't imagine playing these games out of order because it's all references, baby, all the way down.
Am I the only one here who's a non-homestucker? Or whatever they
I
call
never
the fandom
finished
calls it.
Homestuck.
Unfortunately, yes.
Hmm. All
Sorry,
right,
fortunately. Well, fortunately for you, you haven't read Homestuck. Unfortunately for you, the rest of us have. That's
Yes.
I mean, listen, I date people who really like the thing. But yeah, no, from what I understand of Homestuck, I absolutely get the comparison. And that kind of continuity porn is fun.
Yeah. It's really good.
I was actually really surprised that Totino seems to be up to a lot more than I was expecting. I was expecting the part of the narrative hook or impetus to be like, oh, it's sad that he doesn't remember literally anything, right? Like, this hero character is just some guy now, but it's like, nope, not at all. There's a lot going on with him. Oh, the thing I was going to say earlier is, what's up?
Oh, I was just saying, regarding what you just said, that's definitely the more expected route. That's where I was imagining going. I really enjoy where they are taking it instead of just like, yeah, no, he remembered everything, and he's like, I'm going to save everything by myself. No one else has to remember. And it's like, dude, no.
Yeah, no, it's really neat. What I was going to say earlier is, maybe this won't make sense, but it makes sense to me. I just love Igor. Igor is great, and the reason is I feel like Igor in every game is pretty different in terms of like how he fits in with the plot, if he does, if it even matters, what kind of shit he gets up to, and yet he always feels like the exact same friggin' guy, like the exact same shit. Like this week when he pulls the shit that he pulls, I'm just like, yeah. Good old Igor, even though if you think about him and compare him with Persona 5 Igor, it's like, no, these are radically different versions of a character. These characters have very different not motivations exactly, but they have very different
Personalities?
Personalities, yeah, or like concepts. But I think it's just like, they're written, they talk the same way and they look the same, and it's like it's like, yeah, no, this is the same guy, this is the same vibe, and I respect it, and because these games were made very far apart, right, and by different people, so it's cool that you have this common factor between all the games. It's just this weird little guy this weird little guy, and I always appreciate whatever the hell that weird little guy's up to.
I'm gonna bounce from your affection for Igor to my affection for Ulala because I just love
She's
this bitch.
fantastic.
She's so great. I found her motivation, her kind of motivation in this section to be very believable.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has had friends who are incredibly more successful than them, I'm not saying I would, curse them with death, but I would say jealousy happens. And don't get drunk while you're really jealous.
I also love her motivations pre the group hangs out on their own for a bit of, I really want to make this party tonight, so I'm going to help you fight demons, so hopefully we can make it to the party on time.
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic.
It's so good.
I love her.
Yeah. Also, I love when she rests her head in Maya's lap. That's also great.
Another thing just in general of this game. This game trying to be both a sequel to Persona 1 and a sequel to Persona 2 is very weird because you will have people who are canonically siblings, so their last name has to be the same. But this game is trying to not translate as much as not localize as much as possible. So you get weird names like Sayako Smith and things like that, and it's bonkers and wild how like Tatsuya and Tatsuzo are very like. Those names use way different kanji in Japanese, so they're not as confusing to Japanese ear. But it could use some localization there. It would be great if they localized it a bit to make it easier for us to track. But they didn't. They wanted to keep everything the same. And then Sayako Smith, and it's nuts.
I thought it was a really weird move for them to name the guy Totinos.
Yeah,
Yeah, really weird.
I mean, especially because they weren't that well known back then.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else this week?
Actually, I don't know if y'all knew this, but it's actually it's kind of a weird tradition in the last couple of decades. I wouldn't expect this, but it's actually a tradition for Japanese families to eat Totinos on Christmas.
Maddie, that's good.
Yeah,
on White Day you give a pizza roll to the girl you like.
Oh man, I can't wait for this year's Totino's week.
Yeah, that'll do it for the week. You're cut off. That's the end of this episode now. If you like what you heard, you can check us out on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate, help us keep the lights on, pay for games, those sorts of stuff. And we now have membership tiers there. So any one-time donation or a membership at the $1 a month level will get you access to the Book Club no Kaseki episodes about a month before everyone else. And it also will give you a green nickname in our Discord, and it'll allow you to vote on what game we play next for the main podcast. No idea when we'll open the next one because we're kind of just fumbling our way through this game, but it'll be soon that we'll be opening it for our final game of this year. So get your donos in now. Then we have for the $5 a month tier. If you do that, you will get your name shouted out at the end of every episode. So shouts out to AARon524, Cerebral Wind, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, JFro Prime, Eli Bergmoss, Doho, and Tuxedo Ken. And then we also have a $20 a month tier where we will shout out both your name and a URL or one-sentence shout out of your choosing. So shout outs to Carr, who is a dentist, and his shout out is for your own mouth. And he wants you to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm Maddie Grace Webbin.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Goodbye, dorks.
Bye.